call today is Radiansome 100 versus the Signature Dermatology line. How do you ultimately determine which product is right for you? How do you utilize both product lines should you choose? And how do you even mix and match the products such that you can satisfy your ultimate skincare goals? To understand this approach and how to approach which products are best for you, you ultimately need to look at what skin type you have. And so when I have individuals who email in and they're wondering which products to pick up, I always ask them first and foremost if their skin is sensitive, and then beyond there, what their self-perceived skin type is. Now, in the various skin types we have, I've listed them out here with basic definitions. Of course, the first is dry. Your skin is lacking oil. It may feel tight after you cleanse. It can have visible dullness, rough patches, and even flaking. But I've also included dehydrated. And now dehydrated is not a skin type you'll typically hear about, but in this instance, your skin is lacking water. If you'll remember from our discussion during session 3 on skin physiology, both water and oil, while different in their respective performances within the skin, are crucial for genuine skin health. The oil largely makes up your skin barrier, which tightly packs your skin cells together, and water, of course, is necessary for the function of your cellular environment. Unfortunately, it is nearly impossible to differentiate between the two visually and even sensorially, but in acknowledging that your skin either could be deprived of oil or of water can help you approach your skincare routine. So in dehydrated skin with your skin lacking water, it still may appear as visibly tight or dull skin, can still have flaking or even sometimes inflammation or redness because of that dryness. On the opposite end, of course, we have oily skin types, in which your skin often feels greasy or shiny, may be acne prone, but it generally has that feeling of oil when you touch your face. And the way in which you can determine your ultimate skin type is suggested that you first cleanse your skin, apply no other products, and address your skin 30 minutes after. And once you study your skin in more detail after those 30 minutes with no other products applied, you can slightly begin to determine what skin type you may have, whether it is dry or perhaps combination or oily. With combination, you have parts of the face, which are traditionally your T-zone, that's gonna be your forehead and your nose, that are oily, and then other parts that are dry. Now, in this category, this is actually where I fall specifically. I immediately get oil buildup along my nose specifically. I don't even get too much on my forehead. So the way in which your skin is combination skin can be unique for each individual, but it's the basic definition that you have both oily and drier areas to your face. And if you have normal skin, lucky you, I am jealous, but normal skin feels perfect. It feels neither dry nor oily after that cleansing period, and there isn't an obvious need for a specific type of product to be applied to the skin. And last but not least is sensitive. And what's key about sensitive skin types is that you can have any of these skin types and sensitive skin at the same time. That this is skin that is easily irritated, easily inflamed, doesn't react well to many different products, and so you have to tiptoe lightly around your skincare routine. And as I mentioned, when I approach the ultimate prescription of a Riman ritual to somebody, I always first ask if their skin is sensitive, because if it is, we want to make sure that they have the best chance possible to find good products for their skin without aggravating that sensitive skin type. And I'll say it just off the bat, if they say yes to having sensitive skin, I'll almost always go towards the dermatology line. If it's no, then it goes into a couple more questions beyond that. But with all of this and understanding your skin types, it's also important to acknowledge the various factors you come into contact daily rather, and many intrinsic factors as well, such as age or hormones. The skin type you perceive now may not be the skin type you have in 5 or 10 years. And so understanding that part of your skincare routine is modulation based on these various factors is also important. Sometimes you'll need to switch products up, and that's entirely okay. But the one thing that's important in understanding all of this, and also in understanding sensitive skin types specifically, is a lot of this is self-perception. Whether it is determined by perhaps a practicing medical professional that you genuinely have dry skin or oily skin is oftentimes not the path that many people go down. They don't have the time to go to a dermatologist or an esthetician, but they instead perceive their skin themselves and they say, oh, it feels dry, oh, it feels sensitive. And that's key because Aveeno actually did a study in 2022 and they surveyed various individuals, and 71% of the adults claimed they had sensitive skin. They later then went on to actually prove whether or not they had sensitive skin, but the important part was that a majority of them believed they had sensitive skin. And so, in that regard, and because many of these products you are choosing entirely yourself, it's important to acknowledge these self perceptions in the ultimate attainment of a skincare routine, but also the commitment to a skincare routine. You want someone to be consistent and compliant with their products to see those ultimate results. So, in identifying the skin types, we then have those two main categories of products you can go towards. We have the dermatology line and our Radiansome offerings. Our dermatology line is genuinely for all skin types. It's really designed to be as gentle as possible while still nourishing the skin. It's lightweight and water rich. If you'll remember, it's the highest concentration of that giant Byungpul leaf extract in the booster, the serum, and the dermatology cream. And because that extract is, of course, largely water-based, that's going to be very lightweight in its application to the skin versus something that is more oil rich, like Radiansome 100. Because of that water rich nature, it is much more quickly absorbing. And part of that absorption is, of course, that evaporation of the water from the skin, which is entirely fine. You're still getting the deposition of some key ingredients, but that's also why we recommend booing to complete that saturation. Lastly, most importantly, the dermatology line focuses on really hydration as a means of obtaining skin radiance. Many of you may have heard Chairman On speak at our various conventions, and he always talks about the fundamental importance of skin hydration for a variety of other aesthetic benefits, not only in the anti-aging realm, but just in the genuine skin health realm. So while we're focusing on hydration and radiance in the dermatology line category, you are not missing other activities that you genuinely do want, such as the reduction in the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, or the reduction of dry skin, etc. And so we'll go more in detail on the product offerings and their key ingredients and see how those various aesthetic desires can be satisfied with these products. But on the opposite end, we of course have Radiansome 100. And for Radiansome 100, it is a more specialized and advanced line. It's of course for mature skin, but I never categorize it solely as our mature skin line because there are people even in our office in their early 30s and late 20s who prefer this line because they have extremely dry skin, which is another category that I apply Radiansome 100 to. It also can apply to normal or combination skin. But the main differentiator here is that I often do not recommend the Radiansome 100 line for those with sensitive skin types because of the high oil load. This can be irritating for those more sensitive skin types. But with the Radiansome 100 lines, because it is entirely nanoliposomal, we have these emollient and oil-rich formulations that not only maintain the stability of those liposomes, but help in that absorption of those key ingredients within those liposomes. And because that oil-rich nature, it's going to be perceived as more slowly absorbing, more luxurious and sensory in its tactile experience, but then of course it's going to exist for a lot longer on the skin. Lastly, some of the focuses include not only brightening, but increasing skin elasticity and plumpness, those general claims towards anti-aging, but also the more important focus of moisturization of the skin, of replenishing that oil content. And so that's why I differentiated between dry skin and dehydrated skin, because if you have dry skin and you're needing that oil, Radiansome 100 line will entirely bring you that oil that you need versus the dermatology line. Unless you're using the Too Faced oil mist and a lot of the dermatology cream, you might need more oil than that, and that's why I often differentiate between dry or dehydrated. But with that all in mind, in all of these offerings, they're all falling into the ICD appreciation of the basic tenets of K-beauty, of cleansing, hydrating, and protecting. And so with all of our various product offerings, you always have the same options to cleanse, to protect, and of course to hydrate in different ways. One of the ways in which we aim rather to simplify the approach to K-beauty through these three tenets is to encourage individuals to mix and modulate to find that Riman ritual that's right for them. So I would say that both the Radiansome 100 core products and the dermatology core products fall within that hydrate category. And so sometimes your routine can include both the booster and serum and even the Radiansome toner. But we'll go more in detail on the ways in which you can hybridize your routine. Just understand that within and all of the offerings with the ancillary products like the Calming Balance Gel, the Too Faced Oil Mist, the Aqua Protection Sunscreen, these can be mixed and matched with both core products of the Dermatology line and the Radiansome 100 line. Now, when we go more in depth on the dermatology line, first, as I had mentioned, this is our signature line. It focuses on hydration as a means of obtaining skin radiance, and it has that high concentration of giant Byungpo leaf. So specifically, the booster, the new reformulated booster, now has 89% giant Byungpo leaf extract. The serum, 73%, and the dermatology cream, 67%. I'll also remind you all that these three products are still German Derma tested. So even in the reformulation and repackaging, we resubmitted it to our German Derma testing. And so they all still have that seal or certificate of testing. And with that in mind, that is why I traditionally recommend at least these products for more sensitive skin types. But because a large part of the Radiansome routine is the utilization and portrayal of nanoliposomes, I wanted to take a minute to highlight what makes the dermatology line unique in terms of its absorption, which of course are the new exosomes in formulation. So we specifically call them incelsomes because these are exosomes derived from our giant Centella asiatica. But in general, exosomes are microscopic and naturally occurring vesicles that facilitate intracellular communication. Essentially, they bring bioactive molecules from cell to cell. What's unique is that specifically the phospholipid bilayer of Centella exosomes, so this structure you see here, can also help nourish your skin barrier because your skin itself is made up of phospholipids. But it's also important what is contained within those exosomes. It not only makes it easier for these active components to be taken up by the cell, but it also protects specific ingredients during absorption. Now, the thing with exosomes, because they are plant materials, they are very delicate. They're not as robust as liposomes. So these are typically more surface active within the epidermis, but that still allows it to have genuine benefit for your cellular health, which you'll remember ICD, intracellular dermatology. We are looking just to support the healthy function of your cells. And so as I have listed, the booster has 1.3 billion exosomes per bottle, the serum 450 million, and the cream has 500 million per bottle. And these again are all entirely from our giant Centella asiatica. And so when we finally go to appreciate each product in more detail within the dermatology line, we of course have the dermatology first package and the accompanying dermatology cream. And I have here our flip charts, which are accessible to you in the drive, but it perfectly lays out not only how to use the products, but the key ingredients as well. So I've already mentioned that giant Byungpo. We've gone over it in session 2 as well. But the second key ingredient that is continued throughout all three products is NMN. Now, NMN or nicotinamide mononucleotide is a precursor to NAD+. NAD+ is involved in a variety of cellular metabolisms in our day-to-day, but it in general depletes as we age. We lose roughly 50% of our NAD+ every 20 years. And this is because specifically the process that recycles NAD+ in our body begins to break down. Now, in topical application of NMN, it's still being explored in more detail whether this NMN becomes NAD+. But what's important is that studies have been done on NMN alone in its performance for the skin, which is quite robust. So both Procter & Gamble and the American Academy of Dermatology have performed tests on topical application of NMN, and they found that it not only increased skin clarity and reduced skin texture, but it also reduced the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles and of hyperpigmentation. So as I had mentioned, you still get many other aesthetic benefits with these products beyond just hydration, which we more often readily tout. Beyond the NMN, each product has its own key third ingredient, and you may have seen my Riman days on these third ingredients, but if you did not, they are listed here. The booster has Rejuviome R and the serum Fillerstim. Now, Rejuvium R is an enzyme pulled from an extremophile. Extremophile are typically uni or multicellular organisms existing in extremely harsh conditions, dry deserts, extremely cold Arctics, and they need specific cellular mechanisms to survive and to survive based on the daily exposures they come in contact with. The specific enzyme used in Rejuvium R is pulled from an extremophile and used as a UV repair mechanism. So in that extremophile, this enzyme repairs DNA after UV overexposure. And it has a similar benefit in topical application where it can help your skin be more resilient even after UV overexposure. And if I remember, I believe it was session 3 or 4 again, we really need to focus on antioxidant protection and specifically reducing the presence of oxidative species within the skin to focus on a variety of aesthetic concerns, such as dryness, such as fine lines and wrinkles, such as redness and hyperpigmentation. So, powerful ingredient there with the booster, and then the serum is a fantastic ingredient itself. Filersin specifically is a bacterial ferment, and now we know that bacteria are beneficial for us in the microbiome, both in our gut and on our skin as well. So this ferment not only supports your skin's microbiome, but it itself also acts as a humectant, where it can attract water and bind it to the skin to maintain skin hydration, and that's specific to the serum. Now, as I had mentioned, we often suggest that you use these products in the boo fashion. And there are individuals who will keep going. They will boo until the rest of the night ends. But with the application of boo, the reason we suggest that is because these products are in such high concentration of that giant byungpo leaf extract, which itself is high in water content. It allows for that natural behavior of water to evaporate from the skin while still getting sufficient ingredient deposition to the skin as well. And so that's why we suggest you boo. Now, to finish your dermatology routine, of course, it'll be that dermatology cream. Still has the Byungpol, also has the NMN, excuse me, but that third ingredient is actually two ingredients, and it's ergothioneine and carnosine. Ergothioneine is thought to be a more potent antioxidant than even CoQ10 or idabenone. Specifically, it not only provides antioxidant care to the skin, but it protects your skin's endogenous antioxidants. And so these are your antioxidants that were already existing or innately within your skin. It protects those as well. Carnosine is a dipeptide, and it does naturally exist in the human body, but in application for cosmetics is traditionally synthesized. It too has antioxidant care, but it also has some anti-inflammatory benefit as well. And so the dermatology cream you can utilize as much or as little as you see fit. I use about a nickel-sized scoop each night, but some may use more and some may use less. But on the opposite end, we of course have Radiansome 100. And so, as I mentioned, the 100 here stands for 100% nanoliposomal. And in my personal experience as a cosmetic chemist, we often got liposomally encapsulated ingredients, but that was a singular ingredient. And inclusion in the formula meant that the formula was maybe 5 to 10% liposomal. But the entirety of these formulations are nanoliposomal. And this is key not only for their performance, but for their targeted efficacy as well. And when we look more in detail on liposomal technology, liposomes were actually initially introduced in the pharmaceutical industry as a mechanism of enhancing the absorption of medications through the skin or orally, of course. And it later was picked up by the cosmetic industry for a similar performance to enhance the absorption of cosmetic formulations. We, however, specifically utilize a microfluidizer processor. And I cannot stress this enough how novel this is for a cosmetic brand because many microfluidizer processor instances are still within the pharmacy industry. And furthermore, if it is utilized by cosmetic brands, it's on an ingredient by ingredient basis. But we again use it for the entirety of the formulations in the Radiansome 100 line because we have an in-house microfluidizer processor. We could take that time, we could spend those resources to find an entirely stable yet safe formulation. Now, what's key about the deployment of these nanoliposomes is that they enhance the absorption through your skin. If you'll remember from again session 3, your skin is fantastic at what it's supposed to be doing, which is acting as a barrier to the external world. But sometimes that means that molecules are too large or they're the wrong polarity for accurate deposition. They're not oil or water soluble for their targeted area. In utilizing nanoliposomes, not only can we enhance that absorption to those targeted areas, but you can enhance the efficacy because of that targeted effect. For example, if you are trying to reduce hyperpigmentation, then a nanoliposome can bring an ingredient to the spot where there is melanin deposits or directly to your melanocytes to inhibit the melanogenesis pathway. So it's just that critical thinking about specific ways in which the ingredients you're purposefully including are actually benefiting the skin. Now, if we explore the nanoliposomes in more detail, we have a cartoon depiction of how these formulations come to be. And so we start with our initial media. So this is the Radiansome toner or cream in its initial form. It's typically of thinner viscosity because it needs to run through this processor. When it runs through the processor, this processor functions on Bernoulli's principle, which is a physics principle in which a rapid decrease in pressure, a rapid decrease in pressure causes an increase in velocity or speed of the starting media. I always have to remember which one it is because I love to mix them up and I always remember physics is the one class I got a D in. But with that being said, that rapid increase in velocity forces these molecules through a specific chamber that has a certain geometry. And this, of course, is a cartoon depiction, so it doesn't necessarily look like a couple of diamonds, but it's forcing these molecules to hit that geometry within the chamber and also hit each other. And these nanoliposomes begin to form such that when the process is completed, you have these extremely microscopic molecules that are about 1/350th the thickness of a human hair. And so that is how we personally create our nanoliposomes for the Radiansome 100 line. Now, what's key for the Radiansome 100 line and why I haven't included the flip chart pages for these products is because all 3 products have the same key ingredients and they differ in, their more industry standards such as hydrators or antioxidants, and of course the viscosity builders, what makes one a toner and the other a cream. But what's important is that these key ingredients are maximized in all 3 formulations to function on that concept of layering. You are layering the thinnest to thickest product with those same ingredients to saturate the skin yet again. Now, of these ingredients, we first have RK Snowflake, which maintains your skin's general health. This is a natural plant extract that mainly has antioxidant properties. Next is our Vita Complex, which is a 5-vitamin complex. And the 5 vitamins include vitamin C, vitamin B3, vitamin B5, vitamin P, and vitamin E, or tocopherol. Now, of course, many of these vitamins themselves perform as antioxidants, except one of them is a humectant or hydrator. But I always like to point out the individual vitamins within this complex because many individuals, when coming to Riman, are, wanting perhaps a vitamin C serum or wanting not to let go of their vitamin C product. We have vitamin C in our formulations, but the key is that we utilize it at a lower concentration so that not only is the vitamin C stable in formulation, but it doesn't have a lot of skin limitations, such as creating photosensitivity to the skin. The third key ingredient is collagenere, and so this maintains skin elasticity and dermal support. Again, this is another natural plant extract. Specifically, it's the Lupinus albus seed extract, and it has a specific peptide chain that mimics human collagen. Of course, it's not going to go in there and become collagen of your skin, but in that mimicry, it allows for the specific uptake of amino acids necessary for the general protein synthesis of supporters within our skin. So mainly, not only is it bringing in these amino acids, but once again, it also has antioxidant protection as well. These last 2 ingredients are industry standards. They're beautiful for the skin, the Picrotomum marittimum extract and the sunflower extract. The sunflower is again rich in vitamin E for antioxidant benefits, and it also largely comprises those nanoliposomes. And then Picrotomum marittimum extract is fantastic for brightening the skin as well. So, in today's entire discussion of dermatology versus Radiance 100 and which one to choose, one question I often get asked is, the utilization of nanoliposomes within the Radiance 100 line, allowing it to be more advanced, allowing it to be more absorbed. Why do we not utilize these nanoliposomes in the dermatology line? And that is a fantastic question. And even with now the existence of exosomes in formulation, this question still comes up. The main reason we do not employ liposomes within the dermatology line beyond texture and application is ingredient compatibility. So in the utilization of liposomes, you of course need more oils to create the liposomes and to maintain their stability and formulation. And a higher oil content for these water-rich formulations not only would lessen the concentration of the giant young pool, but it would create a different texture. It would make them a little bit heavier, more slowly absorbing, which was not the design and intention for the dermatology line. Furthermore, in ingredient compatibility, some active ingredients may work synergistically with liposomes, while others will simply be hindered by their presence. So we took all of this into consideration. The end user's perception of these products, the sensory application, or excuse me, the sensory perception of these products, and of course, the maximization of ingredient performance in these products. And so with that in mind, the dermatology line, while now boasting exosomes, does not have nanoliposomes. And so, with all of that explained, when we choose when and what to use Radiansome and Dermatology EX, there are moments in which you can also use both. But to summarize our discussion, when I approach an individual or even myself, I always first ask if they have sensitive skin. If they say yes, they have sensitive skin, it's going to be the dermatology products. And depending on the sensitivity of their skin, you may want to start them on our essential Riman ritual, the most basic products just to make sure that our core, the booster, the serum, and the cream fare well with their skin. And then from there, you can include the Calming Balance Gel or the two-phase oil mist. But if they say no, their skin is not sensitive, then I ask them what skin type they have. If it is dry, and perhaps even if it is dehydrated because we can't quite tell the difference, I might explore the Radiansome line. But if it's dry, or excuse me, if it's combination or normal, typically I still always recommend the dermatology line first and foremost, just because it is such a gentle way to introduce yourself to Riman. But for those individuals, perhaps they follow the full signature Riman ritual. They try out the two-phase oil mist, calming balance gel, all the cleansers all at once. But with that in mind, there are certain individuals that want to try both, or perhaps they have been on the dermatology routine and now they want to explore the Radiansome line. And so the most typical way we see this done is by utilizing the dermatology products in the morning and the Radiansome 100 products at night. The dermatology products in the morning, of course, are going to be more quickly absorbing. They lay well if you wear makeup afterwards, versus the Radiansome 100 is more slowly absorbing, kind of gives that appearance of a night treatment almost. But as I'd also mentioned, you can hybridize your routine. And so for individuals who are wanting to explore the Radiansome routine, but are not too sure perhaps how their skin will react or if they'll like the texture or the experience, I typically recommend following the signature or essential Riman ritual in its entirety and just bringing one of the Radiansome products in. So for example, they say they're doing the essential Riman ritual. They've cleansed. They would next boo say boo. And then after they boo say boo, I typically recommend the Radiansome 100 toner or ampule, and then the dermatology cream. The reason I recommend this is because of that higher oil load of both the toner and the ampule. It's going to create a bit of occlusivity to the skin, and that could hinder the absorption of the more water-rich booster and serum. But typically they can choose between the toner or ampule depending on which product they want to explore. I always like to say the ampule because it's a more concentrated form of those key ingredients, but some might find that the toner just works better in application or for the texture. So either the toner or ampule after Boo Say Boo and before the dermatology cream is a great way to begin an introduction to the Radiansome line. Another way to do it is to replace the dermatology cream with the Radiansome 100 cream after you Boo Say Boo. That is another expiration. And this also gives an individual the incentive to purchase one of those products, but not feel like they have to commit to all three products in the set if they're unsure if they'll even like the products, but that it gives them that taste such that they can further determine if they'd like to buy the rest of the products.